Check this out. This thing is a 1985 Sea Ray. And look what they've done. They converted it to electric. Wonder how she runs. Well, hello and welcome. We're actually gonna wrap it up here. We're just taking some pictures of these boats in the yard. This is actually 20 minutes from where I live on my way to the shop here, so we gotta circle back around and get to the shop. But as the title shows, we have a diagnosis for a Mercury that won't start, and I could probably tell you what's wrong with it just from doing this so long. But what we'll do is we'll walk through a few things that I know that you can check that makes it easier to figure out what it is and what you have to do to fix it. So let's get back to the shop. All right, we made it back here, and here, let me show you. Our boat is right there as it slip 22. So we got a starboard engine not starting. Let me run on the boat here, make sure we got keys, batteries are good, all that stuff, and we'll continue on and see why she's not starting. All right, we are in. Let's turn some batteries on here. Down in our starboard side here. What we got? Off. All right, we got batteries. Inverter's on. We can turn our inverter on. We got no shore power still, but looks like we got voltage to everything. That's good. Let's get both of our key switches on here. It's a good sound. We got our gauge here. We'll wait for this, and I'll show you a few things here we can check real quick, but we want to see if it starts first, so we'll let this wake up. Well, we can't see the motors at all here, but we'll do the port side first. Okay, well that one starts. See if we can get the starboard. Nothing. So we're going to pull our cowling here, but let me show you something first, something you can check to make sure we're getting power to it. Let's go down here. And what we want to do here is, looks like we got good voltage on both. So let's start our port first. We'll watch our voltage. See how it dropped down? But she's running. You got 650 RPM, whatever. She's warming up. Let's turn that one off. Our starboard side. Zoom in on my finger. Let's try that again and see what it does. I'm going to turn the key. See how we're losing voltage? That shows me that we're getting a signal to the starter, but it's not turning. So let's pull our cowling. So here's our cowling. Here is our starboard engine. Lucky it's turned this way too, because we got to do a starter. This thing won't start. It ain't gonna steer either. We'd have to push the motor, and we're in the water here, so we could actually do the starter right here in the water, but you'd have to be careful because you got to pull all these intake bolts. So first we're going to check power here. We'll make sure we got power to our big wire, which it looks like we do because we have 12.6 or 7 on the dash. But if you look, you could take this intake off to make this easier if you're wanting to test this, but you can actually sneak down in here, and there's a wire. You can kind of see it. Let's see if I can zoom in. That little wire right there, the yellow with red tracer, that guy right there is going to the starter. You can kind of see the black shielding over it. So what we're gonna do is bend that a little bit, and I'm gonna poke at it. And what we can do is I'm gonna turn the key switch, and I'll put the camera on the meter, and we'll see if it's sending power to our starter here. That way we know, okay, our starter has power, it's getting a signal, it's not working, we need a new starter. Okay, I got our meter stuck in there under that wire, and we have our ground here. So it should stay. We should be good to try to crank it here. So we should have no voltage. And when I go turn that key switch, we should see voltage. All right, I don't know if you can see anything there, but I hope it worked. I'll rewind the film here and see. But another thing we could do here, I'll double check that here in a second, but you can try this too. If you have a power probe, you can literally hook power to it and just shoot that wire with power, and that way you can see if the starter is actually good or bad. Another thing you can do, I'm going to tap the starter. Sometimes they'll come back to life if you tap them. It's not an old automotive trick, but I'm going to hit it a few times just with the other side of my screwdriver here, and then we'll try to start it again. Sometimes you can break these brushes free. But it could be this plunger too that's bad, so I'm not sure this is going to work or not, but let's give it a whack. Let's try it again. 12.6. See if it'll start. Nope. But you can see, like I say, it's sending voltage. So in order to do the starter here, you don't have to do too much. You pull this top piece off, which is just this right here. Looks like we need some new nuts on this one. And basically, these two bolts hold the starter in. There's one on the bottom. There's a ground wire. When you pull this intake off, you just got to pull this shield off. All these little bolts all the way around. This thing comes off pretty easily. There's a sensor on the back side of it that you want to pull off. You don't want to just yank this off and then you'll pull the wire off. Other than that, maybe, you know, disconnect your battery so you're not touching the ground on anything here. But you could also load check right here. You can take a battery meter and hook it right here, and you could have a bad cable or something, but this thing's not even trying to crank, and it's sending voltage. And we know that we have good batteries because we have 12.6 on both sides. That one cranks real good. You could also parallel them together. You got heavy cable here, probably more than you need for this starter here. But anyway, let's pack this one back up. It's got a little cover here. Put the cowling back on it, and I gotta go see if it's under warranty or the customer pay, yada yada, and we'll go from there. But looks like this wire, I don't like how they moved that over here. I might unscrew that and turn that down some because it's kind of at a weird angle there. But yeah, need a starter for this one. That one's working good, and again, very lucky that it's facing towards the starter side, because if it was over here, you'd be kind of stepping out on the edge of this, or we'd have to get it out of the water or pull on it real hard and not fall in the water here. All right, well, cowling's back on, everything's good. Gotta go order a starter for it. We unfortunately lost a lot of our parts, and I know they're trickling in now because of these last couple hurricanes, so they're still sorting all that out. So we'll get a starter coming. Not sure if it's warranty or not. Either way, we got to fix the motor. If you have any questions, this starter on this one is basically the same thing as any other starter for any outboard. You have a signal wire, a main power and ground to it, and away you go. So always look at your gauge, because you can't always plug into a computer, because Mercury is proprietary. They don't let you have their software unless you are a dealer. Look at your gauge, check your voltage, check your battery, check the cables, anything you can do to make sure that everything to the starter is good, and make sure you have a good signal coming off the key switch when you go to crank that thing, and then you'll know it's a starter. If it's not, it could be there's some relays in there, it could be a blown fuse, a couple other things. But if you have everything at the gauge, and the modern Mercuries, they don't have any codes for a bad starter, so you won't see anything. It says oil level and engine's okay to start, and it won't give you any codes on the screen, basically, because that starter doesn't have any way to tell you it's bad. It just has a signal to it, and it cranks, and the computer does the rest. So anyway, if you got any questions, hit me up in the comments. And this is the first time I've been able to kind of diagnose something and do anything, because we've just been running around still with all these damaged boats and everything. So I wanted to put a video out because I didn't get one last week. So again, this might be helpful to some people, and starters fail sometimes, and it's kind of a common thing. So hit me up in the comments, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next time. Later. Well, this thing's a beast. Look at this 380 whaler, twin 600s. They put these giant plates on here. Pretty sweet. You also got, look at this, 27.5 pitch. Crazy. Thing must scoot.